Let me introduce to you the most difficult fort in Sea of Thieves. There is a literal volcano on this island. This is Molten Sands Fortress, but you've probably never heard of it because it's only active if there's players in the Devil's Roar, which nobody goes to. And even if you have heard of it, you've probably only stumbled upon it once or twice. I've been playing this game for almost 5 years now, and I can say with confidence, I've only ever seen this fort active maybe 5 times. So you might think, oh, is the problem it's just never active because no one goes to the Devil's Roar? Well, partially. Another reason is because the vault looks like this. For all of the chaos you have to endure with the volcano and the geysers, it is just not worth the loot. And I think one of the biggest problems is there's just not much of an incentive for any players to even go in the Devil's Roar, let alone do Molten Sands Fortress, which is a shame because it's genuinely one of the coolest places on the map. The fact that this fort is literally never active, and also you can't even spawn at Morrow's Peak Outpost. Sea of Thieves is kind of hurting themselves by doing this. Now, I compiled a couple of ideas of how I think Sea of Thieves can make Molten Sands just a lot better and bring life to the Devil's Roar entirely. All of my ideas include assets that are already in the game, so this should be as easy for Sea of Thieves as possible, because I know they have a lot on their plate with Season 10. One reason people might not go to this fort is because they don't even know it's active. It is at the very, very far east side of the map, which no one ever goes to, and if you're on the opposite side of the map, you're barely even going to see the skull. It needs to be distinct, because from the distance, it just looks like a regular skull fort, which it's not. Back during the Seabound Soul, they added Ashen Treasures, which also added a limited time event that was going on with all of the forts, which introduced this sprite to the game. I think if this skull shined in the sky when Molten Sands went off, it would draw a lot more players, and people would actually know that it's going on. In terms of appearance, that's kind of the only critique I have, because this island is genuinely beautiful. Just being able to know that it's active from the other side of the map and seeing that red skull in the sky would definitely draw in players. So if there's nothing else they can add to appearance, we need to talk about the actual event. They replaced all of the skeleton captains with ashen skeleton captains, which is a nice touch, but why wouldn't they also do this for the skeleton lord? They could easily replace the skeleton lord with an ashen lord. I mean, it's in the game, and that would be very simple. Here's where most of my ideas come in. So let's say they replaced the skeleton lord with an ashen lord. Upon the ashen lord's death, I believe it should drop a skeleton orders, and this skeleton orders wouldn't just be one map, it would be many. That would take you all throughout the Devil's Roar, making that place more active. And this would actually be loot you'd want to grab. We could remove the Chest of Rage and the Ashen Chest from the actual vault and replace it with, let's say, I don't know, an Ashen Athena. And then you take these Chest of Rage and Ashen Chest and throw them on treasure maps all across the Devil's Roar. This would give much more of an incentive for people to actually do the fort and even counter. Even if all of the changes I mentioned were implemented, it would kind of leave the vault still kind of feeling like a little underwhelming. But that's just more of an incentive for people to go take the skeleton's orders and go across the Devil's Roar to get the rest of the loot. Now you're probably thinking, well, that all sounds great, but the fort is still never active. The only way this fort spawns, like I said in the beginning of the video, is if someone's in the Devil's Roar. I think they should remove that. I think it should spawn just how the rest of them spawn, just at random. Now, you might not agree with anything I say, but I think we can all agree as Sea of Thieves players that the Devil's Roar is lacking content. It takes up such a large part of the map where I think it's kind of due for an overhaul. Otherwise, there's no point in it just sitting there doing nothing. Now, if you have any other ideas or you just completely disagree with me, go down in the comments and share those thoughts because I genuinely like hearing them. Because I just thought I'd share my thoughts on how I think they could fix that fort and the entirety of the Devil's Roar just by adding stuff that's already in the game. Thanks for listening to me ramble for 5 minutes. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.